Hi, I'm Keanu Reeves. So I grew up in Toronto, Canada, and when I was like 10 or 11, I remember this summer where I was living, called the Annex, motorcycle gangs would come into this kind of part of town. I remember names like Satan's Choice. But I lived down the street from there, and so I'd hear this rumble, and then these like pirates would show up on these amazing looking choppers. And there was just something about that, I don't know, fired my imagination, that somehow was aspirational. It was like one of those things where I guess some kids like look at a fireman. I was like looking at these, these bikers and going, that looks cool. Well, there's I guess the sensation of riding. Love the sensation of riding a motorcycle. It's the wind, it's the smells, it's the sights, it's the sounds. It's the kind of state that I find myself going into when I ride. Oftentimes it can be a place to think about things or to feel things or to get away or to be in the moment and be affected by your environment. The idea of travel, journeying, the sensations of kind of being alive. So the act of riding is, I just love it. With the first Norton, it was the upswept pipe, the shape of it, the silhouette of it, the design of it. And then when I actually got to ride it, the feather bed frame, just the way that my seating position was on it, just felt comfortable, it felt natural, it felt right. And then when a Norton gets nice and warm, the smell of the oil coming from the engine, so the smell of the Norton was amazing, and the sound. That sound of the motorcycle was just so great. The open road. Again, I guess I go back to that idea of freedom of exploration. Even if it's an open road that you've done all of the time, that's going to have a special thing to you. You get to know it so well. If it's a new open road, then it's the new sensations. It's taking in what's happening, and that's very exciting. The open road can be getting away, and it can also be getting to. And I think those possibilities are fantastic. So earliest memories, I guess, were just really either just being in a vehicle and traveling and going somewhere and looking out the window and seeing the world. And that always kind of soothed me. And it also kind of brought out curiosity. And then when I gained my independence, the pleasure of that and the expression of that. Well, it's 2020. In the past few years, we've seen a lot about autonomous vehicles. So I guess that's coming. So I would say like the most important thing to keep hold of for me is our independence, to hopefully keep the choice to be able to be independent and to drive, to have one's own autonomy.
Well, I like anything that rolls, explodes, and makes noise. That's basically it. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I think the internal combustion engine early on beat out electric and steam. It made loud noises. It frightened children, and women thought you were brave if you drove one. And the louder it was, the more powerful it must have been. How many guys have played on that theme? Like a Harley has basically, 60 horsepower, 70 horsepower, but it's big and noisy, so it has this image of being faster and stronger than anything else out there. I came home from the hospital in a 49 Plymouth. Obviously, I don't remember that, but we had that until I was about 6 years old. My dad then bought a 57 Plymouth Belvedere, but I remember that it had that kind of mohair upholstery that smelled like a wet dog when it got rainy outside, and you get the thing be all damp and everything in there. So that's part of my earliest motoring memory. And then when my dad got the 57 Plymouth, I remember sitting on his lap and, holding the steering wheel. Back then you could do that. You could sit in your dad's lap and hold it. Of course now, they'd call child services. My dad would be arrested. I would grow up in a state home, and it would be a little bit different. But back then, you could do that kind of thing. Probably my favorite car story was making my dad buy our '66 Ford Galaxie 7-liter. You know, when I was 16 years old, my dad was not a car guy. He would walk in the showroom and he'd see something, he'd go, give me that one. And the salesman would say, we can order it. No, just give me that one, that's fine. If it had a radio, we got it. If it didn't have a radio, fine. My dad just bought what was ever in the showroom floor. So we went up to Shawsheen Motors, that was the Ford dealership in our little town. I remember the salesman's name, Tom Lawrence, and he came out to, because my dad had just bought a '64 Galaxie. It was now '66, and of course the '64 was rusted through. This is before galvanized steel. We lived in New England, there was salt on the roads, and the thing was rusting out after just 2 years. My dad said, let me see a Galaxie, and Tom said, we don't have a Galaxie, just got Fairlines. My dad said, come on, let's go look at the Chevys. I said, Pop, let's order a car. You know, you could order a car, Miss Leno, you'll get it in 4 to 6 weeks, I promise you. Well, I don't know. Let's order a Galaxie, Dad. You know, my dad said, oh, all right, what color? Maroon. My mom and dad, we all agreed on maroon. And I said to my dad, Dad, can I pick the engine? And my mom said, let the boy pick the engine. What difference does it make? Let the boy pick the engine. And of course, I was going to be 16 and getting my license. So I knew what I wanted. So I pulled Tom Lawrence, the salesman, aside. I said, Dad, you look at fabric. I said, Tom, here's what we want. We want the 428 engine, the 7-liter with a police pursuit package. We want the muffler delete option. I knew my dad wouldn't go for the 4-speed. So we got the heavy-duty C6 automatic. We got 390 gears in it. You know, I just loaded this thing out like a cop car, you know. And of course, my dad, hey, I'm Miss Leno, sign. Well, is this a sign here? How much? That's a lot of money for it. Oh, Pop, it's going to be good. I find my dad signed fine. 6 weeks later, we go to pick up the car. We go in the showroom and sit. Oh, my father goes, hey, it looks beautiful. My dad goes, bucket seats? I didn't want bucket seats. Who wants bucket? Dad, that's the way they come now. You gotta, oh, God, Jesus. I remember the salesman showed us if you roll the seatbelt up and tilt the seat forward, you can put the seatbelts in the crevice and they'll stay there for the life of the car. You never have to see them again. That was one of his selling features. Anyway, so my dad looks at the car. All right, looks fine. You know, so my dad gets in the car and he turns the key. And the engine goes, it's like a little like, it's 1,700 RPM. My father goes, there's a hole in the goddamn muffler. What kind of car is this? It's a brand new car. I go, oh no, Miss Leno, there's no hole in the muffler. You ordered the muffler delete option. What are you talking about? This is right here, muffler. Police pursuit, what muffler? What the hell is this? What's what you ordered? Now my father, he just looked at me with daggers, just furious, you know. He knew he'd been had, you know. So I said, well, come on, Pop, let's take it. You'll like it. Oh, for Christ's sake, Pop. My dad just yelling, you know. My dad gets in the car and he puts it into gear at 1,700 RPM and hits the throttle at the same time, and the car goes, just fishtails in the dealership because we're on the shiny floor, you know. And my father, it's a goddamn rocket ship. It's a rocket. What the hell, Jimmy? He's just screaming at me. He's screaming at the salesman. I said, Papa, let's just go for Christ. Let's get the hell out of here. He fishtails that. Didn't speak to me for a week. Then like a month later, I'm in my parents' bedroom looking for something. I see my dad got a ticket for going 110 because he was showing off with he was an insurance salesman. And he was the manager, and he was the oldest guy, and all the young guys. He had the fastest car there, you know. So he felt pretty good about it after that.